Yeah, yeah. There was one bit in Courier's mind where he. Yeah, I'm not gonna bother trying to describe this area because I'm pretty sure you won't remember it. But there was one bit where Eddie just, for some reason, refused to move from that place. Like he just wouldn't budge anymore. I would walk away and then he wouldn't follow me. So at first I'm like, oh god, how am I gonna do this? And eventually I just like, you know what? I'm just gonna keep moving in one direction because I know for a fact that if you move far away enough, eventually the companion will just teleport to you. So I just run away one direction to say, right, okay, so apparently you want to stay there forever. See ya. And I just run in one direction, and eventually I knew roughly he should be behind me now, and I turn around and he's there. It's like, oh, so somebody decided to come back. Okay. So it is annoying. And then there was one bit where that one survivor from Nipton, the guy who goes, yeah, I won the lottery.
Oh yeah, that dude.
Oh god, I wanted to shoot him so badly. But anyways, that guy came up to me, and after I speaking with everything, I wanted to have a shot of watching him run off into the sunset. But for some reason, he hit an invisible wall. I just started running on the spot. I was just like my first reaction was, right, immediately look away from that. Like, we don't want to make that bit visible for any longer. And I just say, okay, so clearly this guy has so much chems, he's now brain damaged and running on the spot. Well, that's life in Mojave. So that it's, these games, they are not very stable, which is why, going back to the mods very briefly, bug fixes made by fans, custom patches are a must as far as I'm concerned, especially with New Vegas. Mission Mojave, that's the one I use.
Okay, where I draw the line with mods, none. No mods. None whatsoever. Except what I'm looking at for New Vegas, the game fixes, as you mentioned. Like,
Yes.
the one that allows you to recruit the followers of the apocalypse for Hoover Dam, or the one where Arcade Ganon will actually follow you again, or stuff like that. Actual game fixes.
Yeah, I haven't thought about those. Yeah.
That's the only exception that I'm willing to make.
Fair enough. Right. I think it's my turn.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Right. Okay. So why New Vegas and Fallout 3? Why not other Fallout 3? Fallout games. I answered this quite extensively the last time we talked, but just quickly going through the thing again. So the reason I chose New Vegas, a couple of reasons. First of all, at the time I just finished playing New Vegas, so it was very fresh in my mind. That's something I wanted to do. I was more familiar with it. I also like the Courier more as a character. Even though we know that they're all blank slates in a way, but I do like the idea that in the end of the story, the Courier gets to choose his own destiny. Like, he gets to choose which faction to support, and depending on which one he chooses, he is like really influential as a result of it. And I quite like that idea. Whereas in Fallout 3, the Lone Wanderer, you're still very influential, but at the end of it, you're still basically working for someone else. If that makes any sense.
You have to end up working with the Brotherhood of Steel at some point.
Yeah, exactly. So you're gonna have to do that. Whereas I saw the Courier as more of a rebellious individual who isn't going to necessarily do that without some really good reasons to. Now, okay, before anyone else say anything, I'm not saying that he is definitely gonna go independent. What I'm saying though is that whichever side he chooses, he is going to have some decent reasons for it, and it won't be altruistic. Like, at this point, I think it's quite clear the Courier is not an altruistic person. This guy is a manipulative bastard. So as a result of that, even if he goes with the NCR, for instance, it's not gonna be for a good reason. It's gonna be for himself, pretty much. But anyways, so that's, like, I like the Courier more as a character, and also I was concerned with how to handle like the birth and the toddler and the 10-year-old sequences in Fallout 3. Like, I didn't know how to do that, and especially as the first episode, I felt like if I couldn't do it properly, then immediately for a lot of people, that's it. They're not gonna come back to your show again because of how that first bit was. And I didn't like the idea of just skipping straight to to the bit where you escape from the vault. So I didn't know how I would do that bit. So at the end of the day, my initial reasonings weren't that, like, there wasn't like one huge reason why I chose New Vegas instead of Fallout 3. It was just a bunch of small reasons that I thought, it's probably easier for me to do New Vegas rather than Fallout 3. And looking back on it now, so Hunter mentioned there were a few bits where things got quite emotional. Not emotional as in shout. Not emotional as in shouting your head off, which I can do perfectly fine. It's emotional as in, heart-wrenching stuff. And you need to be a decent voice actor to do that, and I'm not convinced I'm good enough to do that convincingly. Because, like, I actually said this last time we talked, but it's easy to overdo something. It's not easy to get it just right. And I wasn't convinced I could get it just right. Whereas in New Vegas, you do still have some pretty heavy stuff, but they're not so, straightforward sad, if that makes any sense. So, yeah, so that in retrospect, I'm kind of glad that I didn't go with Fallout 3 because of that reason. And the last reason, in retrospect, I'm glad I went with New Vegas, is that in Fallout 3, there isn't a necessarily concise structure to how the side quests are laid out. So, like what Hunter is saying, you've already gone through the main quest line, and now you're just sort of picking off the side quests. That's the impression I'm getting.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Whereas with New Vegas, I'm trying to do them all in one cohesive line. And in New Vegas, it's the way the quests are structured, it's much easier to do that. Like, if you follow the main quest line and actually do that, detour going first to Mojave Outpost and then back up again through Nipton, and basically following what the developers intended rather than going directly to New Vegas, you actually encounter most of the side quests along the way. So I don't have to think up of any too elaborate reasons for why he suddenly decided to go over here and not go straight to New Vegas. Whereas in Fallout 3, it's harder to come up with a simple, coherent line. So, yeah, those are basically my reasons for New Vegas. And, the original question I just actually said, why not other Fallout games? I can't really see how you would do a good Mind series with Fallout 1 and 2.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing.
Don't think that works too well. It's usually... I'm not going to go ahead and say that only first-person games work, but don't think Fallout 1 or 2 would work.
Yeah, the Fallout 1 and 2 are a borderline strategy game.
Yeah. Turn-based in combat and everything. Like, I don't know how you would do that convincingly.
But yeah, for me, Fallout 3, the reason I did Fallout 3 was because it just seemed to work at the time. Like, I will admit, I started with Fallout 3 purely for selfish reasons because I wanted the series to go on for as long as possible. And I was, like, thinking to myself when I did this, like, am I even going to finish this? And I am still on Fallout 3, but I've made more progress than I ever could have hoped to achieve. So I am honestly surprised that we've made it this far. So and as for why I didn't start with New Vegas is because because, again, lengthwise, it was always my headcanon that the Lone Wanderer ended up going to New Vegas. That was always my headcanon, like, when the game first came out. That was my headcanon. Then that headcanon got thrown out the window when that frickin', when the beginning came up and there was, like, a 5-year gap and everything. But, one of the main reasons I decided was because I always intended for New Vegas to be either seasons 2 or 3. At the beginning, I was debating on whether or not I wanted to do Broken Steel as part of season 1. But it was purely so that I could make the series longer.
That's like Skyrim. God, that question is later, but yeah. You can do that with Skyrim,
And I
Oblivion.
just looked, SpaceX launches in 4 minutes.
Oh God. All right. So I think it's your turn to have a question.
Let me look. Let me see. Alright, let's do this one. What is the process that you go through when making the
Uh,
series?
okay. Uh, so I'll start. So I think based on what I understand, we actually have very different methods of doing things. So
Very.
the way I do it, so like I said earlier, I start with a rough idea of how much I want to cover in a given season. Then I would actually play through that section of the game to remind myself what happens and roughly which characters I come across and how and have a rudimentary idea of how long each episode should be. Because rather than trying to force myself to have like 10-minute long episodes or 15-minute long episodes, I try to instead try to find natural places for the episodes to end. And later on, if necessary, I will go back and sort of modify where they should end. But yeah, so I will play through it first, note down anything that I might need later, and then when it comes to actually making each episode, I would first just record the footage. So from where from where I plan to start and where I plan to end, I would just record all of that, and then also like while I'm recording the raw footage, obviously it's gonna look a little bit different from the final thing because there will be edits. So while I'm walking through the levels, I especially indoors, I try to avoid running because realistically speaking, when you're indoors, especially inside someone's house, for instance, or somewhere, say an embassy or the casinos, in fact, you're not necessarily going to run, are you? So he would mostly walk through these areas, and I will be looking around and try to, give myself interesting things to look at that I might end up commenting on later, but I might not. So I'm just looking at things that might seem interesting, and then whenever necessary, make pauses that might seem natural at the time. Then talk to people and so on. And when I'm talking to people, I leave myself about 30 seconds of time between each of their lines, so that I have enough time to later come up with what I'm gonna say in between those lines. And then, so that's the raw footage. Then compress all of that down because the Story and Fraps and so on, they love having massive multi-gigabyte sized raw footages. Obviously, compress that down into one smaller footage, then work with that. And at this point, I actually start coming up with lines, which I think is the biggest difference between our work styles. So I actually come up with lines as I'm looking through the footage. So I'm sitting there and thinking up lines. I was thinking, right, if I'm in this situation, this is what I would say. Or if the courier's here, this is likely what he'll say. And when I come up to bits where there isn't too much interesting stuff happening on screen, this is when I will start having him having banter with Eddie or having banter with his companions. Because bear in mind, his companions have a lot of lines that they could say, but I don't want to end up wasting. Wasting is not a good word. I don't want to end up spending too much screen time just staring at the companions and having a conversation like that. So usually when he's traveling from place to place or he's backtracking, that's when I would then put in dialogue with companions that he would have had normally. And so all that works out fine and so on. And that's basically my work process. And eventually, after all that is done, I would then go back and add any sort of like sound effects that would make sense at certain points, and then just finally render the whole thing. So that's basically my work style.
Alright, our process is quite a bit different. In terms of filming, okay. Step one with the series as a whole was to give myself essentially a 5-month gap between when I actually played the game myself and then actually making the series so that I would have time to forget things. Because what I do is when I'm filming an episode, I don't like to know what happens. And
That's very different.
admittedly, in one thing that I did with one of my with one of my shows, Palace Mind, I wish I knew what happened because I got lost in that episode. That was the Palace Mind episode where he's going through the woods. But with Fallout, I at least have a vague idea of where everything is, but the reactions are a bit more genuine. This is actually why it took me several takes to actually get the episode where he goes to Oasis correct, because good fucking luck finding that. Thankfully, it was very close to
area.
Thankfully, it was very close to the bit where he broke his leg. So he's like, well, I'll just crawl in this hole here and die. Is that a plant? This is also why I have forbidden myself from playing Fallout 3, so I can't get familiar with the terrain. Because I hate episodes where I'm like, okay, I go this way, then this way, then this way, like you have a perfect idea of where to go. No, I want him to get lost a little bit, like, do I go this way? No, I don't fucking go this way. This is like the 15th dead end that I've gone to in this goddamn building. And I believe that's a bit more genuine, and that works quite a bit better. Before we actually film the episode, of course I turn off Steam notifications.
Oh yes. Oh god, there's nothing worse than having someone chatting to you.
I forgot to do that once, and down in the corner, sure enough, I see so-and-so is playing this fucking game, and I'm like,
That's happened to me more than
and
once.
I didn't realize it.
I just log in offline. I just like...
Yeah, I just switch myself to offline mode.
Yeah.
And that works pretty good. But I didn't realize that it was down in the corner until we were done shooting the episode. Or I was. This was before I got the writing team. But before we even start filming, we actually have, one of them is right here, actually, a number of books that we actually write down the lines that we actually want to do in the episode. Like, bits that we know are going to happen in this particular part of the game. We record that, we record that in a book, just so we could get, like, the head movements down and everything, because we have to time everything with, Mike, with Mike and the head movements. Like, the conversation has to be perfect, which is, It can be difficult to do, but we get it done. Like, it's not even a full script. It's, and so for parts of the book, it's, like, very specific scripted events, like, the scene where he was trying to commit suicide by jumping off the bridge. Or, the one time we stepped away from this was with the movie, where the entire thing was scripted out. Every single line. We actually, after we recorded it, we made up a full script.
That must have been annoying if something unexpected happens in the footage.
That's why afterwards we planned out the full script. But for stuff that we plan ahead of time, we have to figure out the head movements and everything. Like, for example, the change of heart scene, that was planned out months in advance. Like, months in advance. Like, we were in the early parts of Mothership Zeta when we did that. Maybe even before Mothership Zeta. I don't know. But it was at some point after he went to the Super Duper Mart that we really started... I really started buckling down and writing stuff. And for, like, stuff like Season 2, we're doing this a bit more heavily and everything. We're getting the timing down and everything. So we record the thing. We write down the script that we want to happen. We do the recording, and we keep doing the recording again and again until it's satisfactory. Again, we save constantly, which is why I'm a bit worried about the limited saves that you have. What's the save cap in New Vegas?
I have no idea. I don't think I've hit that yet.
I think it's
I did end up deleting some of my really old saves just in case there was.
No idea what
That's
it
a good.
is.
Can I just say? So while you're looking for that, I can I just say that's a good point about the saving. So I don't know if anyone's noticed whilst watching New Vegas, watching Courier's Mind, but there would be times when, for no apparent reason, he looks down and look back up again very quickly. So what I'm doing there, every time I do that, I'm actually saving. The reason why I look down is because looking down, when you just see the floor, once you load up again, that floor isn't going to change. Whereas if you do it whilst looking up and there are people in the shot and so on, when you load up again, their position may have subtly changed. So it wouldn't be a smooth transition. And it's the same thing if you look up into the sky. If there are clouds there, then the clouds may have moved in the time that you load up a save. It's really annoying when that happens. But this is why every now and then he would walk and then suddenly look down and look back up for no apparent reason. I'm actually saving when I'm doing that.
But I just looked it up. It's apparently 999. Now that I think about it, I don't think that will be an issue because I won't need 999 saves.
I thought I've gone over that.
I don't know.
Maybe. No. Sorry, because every time you save, it keeps a counter of how many times you've saved. But if you can overwrite one of your save files, it will still keep counting. So yeah, I've definitely saved more than 1,000 times, but I probably don't have more than 999 separate files. That's good to know. But yeah, like you said, unlikely to actually hit that limit.
So yeah, we record the game until it's satisfactory. Then we piece it together we piece together the footage in Sony Vegas. That's another question that's coming up. What software do we use? We piece it together in our editing software, and then we get together in a Skype call, and they feed me the lines, and I'm like, oh god. I have to have a bottle of water next to me when we're doing this because that's one of the downsides to being Matt. Your throat gets really dry. It's not easy being Matt, but
So do you have like a director, like someone to actually judge how your voices are?
We don't have that, but if I screw up a line, I will okay, that was bad. Let's redo it because I have a standard of quality that I have to meet. Otherwise, I won't be happy with my life.
Yeah.
But yeah, we piece it together. Sometimes we add in a sponsor.
That's actually another question that I'm gonna come up to later. Like how many takes you do for. Yeah, we can come back to that later.
Yeah, but sometimes we put in a sponsor. Like one time we put in a fake sponsor for Nuka-Cola.
Nuka-Cola, surely you mean Bowls Iguana, right? Fallout Brotherhood of Steel.
Along with that, we also did a free sponsorship for Sony Vegas, and then with the latest episode 39, we did a sponsorship for Micro Center. They're not sponsoring us. We just really like their products because without them, I would never have gotten my laptop, or I never would have gotten my graphics card, which would have allowed me to play Fallout 3 on my old computer, and then I never would have gotten my laptop, and then I never would have built my current computer. So, yeah, without Micro Center, Matt's Mind would not exist.
Fair enough. So anything else you want to add to that?
So we record the lines. Then there's the long, annoying process of rendering the video.
Ooh. How long does that normally take?
Couple hours.
It's okay.
We upload everything in a full 1080p because that is our standard of quality, which is the highest of standards. I won't accept anything lower than 1080p. Like, it's been that way ever since we switched over to Sony Vegas. But we render it, and then it's just a very simple process of uploading it. That takes a couple hours. Sometimes I don't always upload the video the moment it's finished, but like I'll wait until the next day, because sometimes by the time the video is finished rendering, it's like 3 in the morning, and I really want to get back to whatever game I'm playing, so I'll wait till the next day to upload it, like around 5 or so, because, like, I try to keep my upload times corresponding to when people are going to be online. Like, no one's going to be online at 3 in the morning to watch an episode of Matt's Mind, except maybe my small audience in Germany.
Yeah, different time zone, yeah.
Except my small audience in Germany, who, sorry guys, you're not going to be able to enjoy Matt's Mind the movie.
Is there a piece of music that's banned or something?
The credits music. I'm getting really sick and tired of my episodes being banned in Germany.
Could you not do another version without the music and just upload that for?
I probably could, but
because that's basically what I had to do with that one episode I was talking about, where they muted the whole thing because the copyright claim.
Actually, now that I think about it, I could do that. I think I still have the movie file.
There you go, German viewers. You have hopes yet.
There you go. Yeah, wonderful. I'm still pissed off with the copyright system, but yeah, after it's uploaded, it's just a simple process of putting in the tags and the description and everything, and sorting out whatever copyright problems it may have. Most of the time.
Now that you mentioned copyright, just a quick tip to anyone who's gonna do anything similar, or even just a let's play. I didn't know this until recently, but there's a rumor that. Maybe it's not there now, but there's a rumor that in the future, companies might be able to claim copyright even if it's, like, in-game a piece of music is playing.
Twitch is doing something very similar.
Yeah, like say whenever you walk by a radio and it's playing a song, a licensed song, somehow, like, their auto search system is gonna pick that up. Like, there's been a couple of really prominent YouTubers who've been warning people about this. So like for me as a general rule, I turned off the I reduced the radio thing down to its minimum, or very low at least.
We're usually very careful about it. Like if a radio is playing a song, we usually don't even have the radio on. But if a song is playing, I'll do my best to talk over as much of it. Like, I'm pretty sure I could just get away with the first words of "I don't want to set the world on fire," like, just so you can figure out what song it is. Like, I don't want to set the world on fire. Yeah, well, song, I kind of do want to set the world on fire because it's pissing me off right now. But yeah, we can usually get away with it. If it gets out of hand, we can claim de minimis. And we could usually get away with that after YouTube does its bullshit copyright thing where it automatically rejects the claim. And do not even get me started on the crap that we go through with Hunter reviews, because that is some crap.
Oh dear. Yeah, I can imagine.
Because that's a movie review, and they crack down on that hardcore. Most of the time they'll release the claim, but other times we have to wait the 30 days, and we've actually gotten a few copyright strikes.
Yeah.
That
those guys, whatever the system they use, they're really sensitive.
The YouTube copyright system is completely broken, and I hate it.
Again, we could bitch about that for a whole video. Anyways, can we move on?
Yeah, sure.
Right, okay, so the next set of questions I have are, like, literally one guy asked about 10 questions, but they're luckily all very short ones. Like, something that we can literally answer in a sentence. So I'm just gonna say the question, and then I'll put my answer, and then you can put, like, yours. We'll go through these very quickly.
Okay.
Question 1. How are you doing? Not bad.
Bit itchy, a little bit thirsty. Otherwise, I'm good.
Yeah, I concur. All right, question 2. What are you most excited for in 2015? For me, like I said, passing the probation for my job and more Courier's Mind.
A number of things. There's plenty of rocket launches. In fact, I'm watching one right now. It goes off in 3 minutes.
Are you gonna be off in 3 minutes, or are you just gonna?
No. I've muted the stream. It's on my other monitor.
Okay.
But there's a number of rocket launches coming up. I am very anxious to see pictures of Pluto.
Oh yes,
we're finally getting pictures of Pluto.
Hold on a second. There's gonna be a space-related one in a minute. Most excited game for 2015?
Okay.
I'll start. I actually don't have any for the moment because I haven't seen any announcements that I genuinely interested in. All the stuff that I'm looking forward to haven't technically been announced yet. So Fallout 4, the next Metroid, the next Deus Ex, and things like that. So still waiting for the time being.
Well, okay, right now, Fallout 4, obviously, because we don't know when that's coming out, and they might just announce that at E3 or something, but that's another thing that I should probably wait for before I announce what I'm most excited for at E3. But right now, what I'm most excited for, probably the new Assassin's Creed or the new Just Cause.
Have they announced that?
Just Cause 3, it had a Game Informer cover devoted to it.
Oh, fair enough. Okay.
I cannot think of anything else that's coming out this year, aside from the obvious Kerbal Space Program updates and DayZ updates. I'm looking forward to a lot of game updates.
Yeah. The problem with me is I still have a huge backlog of games I haven't played yet from like a year ago or maybe 2 years ago. So I try to get through those before I go through any new ones. Anyways, next one. Favorite game, book, or movie? I think game we already got through that, so we'll skip that bit. Movie.
Actually, my favorite game of all time,
Okay.
Lego Rock Raiders. Actually,
Oh god, that is old. That is really
1999, but I grew up with it and I just love it to pieces.
old. Oh, if you're gonna say nostalgia, my most nostalgic game was the first Age of Empires. Holy crap, I played a lot of that game.
I really got into Age of Empires 3.
But anyways, movie. You see that I don't want to spend ages pondering over this. Off the top of my head, the Dark Knight trilogy.
Right now, my favorite movie is American Sniper. That's right now. I gave that a 9.8 on our review because it was really freaking good.
I want to watch that.
It's a powerful movie.
Children of Men. That's the other one that I really like. District 9 as well. But let's not make a list.
Yeah.
Favorite book. Shit. Oh, it's been so long since I've read a proper novel. I'm assuming he's talking about novel, by the way, because like if just favorite book, there's a book called Bad Farmer, which is written by a scientist in the UK, which is really enlightening because it talks about all the really shady practices some corporations do. That was the last time I read a book that I really liked.
By the way,
as far as
unrelated, SpaceX just launched.
Hey, has it gone well?
It's going well. But continue.
Nice. Novel. Oh god, I don't actually remember any like. I guess I haven't read any really good novels because otherwise I would have remembered. There were a couple of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy ones I really liked. There was a couple of Red Dwarf ones I really liked. These are all like very British stuff, by the way. You see, the only book that I distinctively remember reading, in the past is the Harry Potter books. But I don't want to say that's my favorite book because it really isn't. So yeah, I don't really have a good answer to this.
The favorite book that was actually sold in stores would probably be the Star Strike books. I'm not sure if anyone's heard of those, but...
Oh, sorry, I just thought of one. World War Z.
Okay.
That was a good book.
Unofficial books, fan made that I had to order online for like $50 is probably the Fallout Equestria book I got sitting over there on the shelf.
That was actually made into a whole book?
That was made into a whole book. It's actually two books.
Good lord.
And
they
are thicker than book 7 of Harry Potter.
Let's just make sure I'm not mistaking this. They're My Little Pony crossovers?
Yeah.
Okay, right. Just in case I was thinking of the wrong thing.
It was a whole like 1,000-page fanfic that was amazing. It has a sub-fandom devoted to it.
It's impressive.
It is impressive.
Anyways, next.
But but in terms of comic books, I love the Calvin and Hobbes books.
Don't know who that is.
It's a really, really popular comic book series.
Okay. I mean, if we're gonna talk comic books, my favorite comic book series is The Boys. I don't know if you ever heard of it, but it's basically a massive deconstruction of everything superhero related. It's basically saying, like, if superheroes did exist in the real world, they'll probably be like the most sadistic people ever because they suddenly have this much power and no one can really do anything to stop them. So the CIA ends up creating an agency devoted to hunting down rogue superheroes and basically scaring them into obeying the law. That really doesn't do the series justice, but I highly recommend people reading through that. Yeah. So next question, can we move on?
Actually, if I may recommend a PlayStation 2 game that I really liked.
All right.
The Barbie Horse Adventure games.
All right.
I've got 3 of them sitting here. We did them on live streams.
Okay, fair enough.
No, go ahead and move on.
Okay, so still on the very quick questions. What is the square root of, wait for this, e to the power of brackets I times pi close brackets?
Algebra, no!
Right, well, the answer to this is very simple. The answer to this is, wait for this, brackets, e to the power of brackets I times pi, close brackets, all of that to the power of a half. That is the right answer. I don't know if you see what I did there, because anything to the power of a half is the same as square rooting it. So yeah, cop-out answer, but it's correct. Moving on.
Okay.
I did do science in the university. Anyways, what weapon would you use in the zombie apocalypse? For me, either a hax? What the hell's a hax? An axe or a hatchet.
Okay.
Because I'm sorry, let me just explain why. Because guns, for a start, in the UK, it's difficult to get guns, and it's even harder to get a reliable supply of ammo. And even if you did, we're assuming here that guns make noises that can attract more zombies, which is bad. So I would use some kind of melee weapon that I can also use as a tool. And as far as I'm aware, a crowbar would be good, but it's, based on what I've heard, is a very bad weapon to actually use against someone because it's really unbalanced. It could throw you off your balance. So an axe sounds like the next best thing.
Okay, I'm going to go off of my DayZ arsenal for this, actually. My melee weapon is going to be a green fire axe. Right. My ranged weapon is going to be a green SKS rifle, with some camo wrapping on it. For a pistol, I'd prefer to use a Longhorn. I don't know what its real-life counterpart would be. A pink Derringer pistol, and an engraved 1911 pistol.
You are decked out in guns.
I have a lot of guns in that game.
Yeah. I mean, I think you... if I could get my hands on a gun, I would probably go with some kind of semi-automatic rifle.
Well,
this is based off of the fact that with an automatic you can easily waste ammunition. Now, by the way, everything I'm saying here, I'm basically quoting the Zombie Survival Guide by Max Brooks, which is another great book.
I never read that.
It's actually a pretty fun read. But he basically summarized it as like, if you have an automatic weapon, it's too tempting for you to just go rock and roll and just like fire full auto. And if we're assuming those zombies are the type that only dies from a headshot, then that's a huge waste of ammo. So he recommends that like maybe an M1 Garand or M1, I think it's called, or something like one of those sort of semi-auto rifles would be really good.
I think you're thinking of the M16.
He actually advised against that because apparently because of M16's like reputation for being unreliable. But like, that's a whole different argument. But I think actually, to be honest, because I had this very long conversation with one of my friends, we worked out that ultimately the guns wouldn't be used to shoot zombies. The guns would be used to intimidate other humans.
Yes. This is another thing that comes up in DayZ. The problem isn't the zombies. The zombies
it's the other
just
survivors.
Slash them and deal with them. The problem is the 10 million snipers that are hanging around North Airfield.
Yeah. Because in that kind of world, I'm afraid to say the NRA people have a point, which is that when everybody have guns, you are less likely going to start trouble. That much would be true. Anyways, next question: your favorite single superpower? You go first, because I need to think of one.
I want to fly.
Just fly. Like, we're talking...
fly. I want to fly.
Fair enough.
Or, like, the ability to tell if a movie is bad or not just by looking at its cover.
I would like the power to reset time to whenever I want it to be. So, you could do something, and if you make a mistake, I like to be able to reset back to before I made the mistake so I can avoid it. And... there's potential for some great stuff, so you could use this to win the lottery every single time.
Actually, that could backfire on you. Like, you do something, you don't regret it then, but then 3 years down the road, you're like, God damn it, I regret it now.
Yeah.
Now I gotta reset 3 years of my freaking life.
Yeah.
It's like, God damn it, I regret the first episode of Matt's Mind. Now I gotta redo this whole shit again.
I didn't say that would be perfect, but hey.
Well, maybe if you were to, like, forget that you reset
well, then that would be pointless.
Actually, then you that would be
the same
pointless.
Mistake again. Yeah, but anyways, what do you think of the ending to Legend of Korra? Haven't seen it.
Haven't seen it.
All right, moving on. How would you actually, no, do you know what? I'm gonna read the original, the way this question was written out originally, because otherwise my joke wouldn't work. God's sake. Where is it? Bear with me for like 2 seconds. On a scale of 7 to water balloon, how would you rate the Rosetta comet landing? I rated mint chalk ice cream.
I would rate that... What was the highest thing?
Water balloon.
Water balloon. Water balloon, because that was amazing. Well done, Europe.
Next question. Do you know, I'm just going to read how he wrote it. If you were an astronaut and you were asked if you would like to go on a one-way trip to Mars and set up a colony there, what would you say? What would be your answer?
Well, actually, I have a response ready for that. Will I have the ability to access the internet? I don't care if the speed is horrible, because I need to finish Matt's Mind.
Would that literally be your only concern?
That would probably be my only concern. I can't die until the series is completed.
There you go. That's your answer there.
Answer... If not, if I'm already done with Matt's Mind and I have everything done here on Earth that I want to get done, I'm going to Mars.
Fair enough. You see, my answer would be no, because I would let some other sucker discover all the really dangerous stuff first. Then I'll decide whether I'll go or not.
Well, the thing with me is that it's always been my dream to go to space, but then again, I've poured a lot of time into this channel that I don't want to just abandon it.
Maybe start with the moon first. You might be able to still access something.
Actually, the moon has pretty good Wi-Fi. There's a satellite in orbit around the moon that gets 150 megabytes per second.
Wow.
Actually, contrary to popular belief, the Wi-Fi on the space station is actually, like, average of what you would get in from a standard router.
I'm pretty sure NASA would be pretty pissed off if you use their bandwidth just to upload videos.
I'm gonna upload this 2 gigabyte video, and they're like, why?
Yeah, postpone the sending of supplies just for the next 3 hours. Anyway, favorite TV show? It doesn't have to be a TV show specifically. It could be a cartoon or an anime. I need to think about this one.
Right now, my favorite anime is K-On! My favorite TV show right now is probably Adventure Time. Favorite canceled TV show is Invader Zim. Or Firefly, one or the other. I really got into Firefly.
Okay, so if we're going into cancel territory, my favorite canceled show, and this is going to be really controversial, was the 3D Clone Wars series.
Oh no.
Okay, let me explain. So that show had a really rocky start. Okay, I'll go so far as say the first 2 seasons were pretty bad. Like they were still trying to find their footing. But towards the later seasons, they actually went into some pretty heavy stuff. We're talking genocides. We're talking just like really, really dark things that you would never in a million years show to a kid.
And the stuff is all on Cartoon Network.
Oh yes, yes, those guys had balls. But yes, I quite like that. The reason why I put that on the list is because I think they canceled it way too prematurely. Like they had so much more stuff they should have covered. Even if just to tie up all the loose ends, they could have easily made a full other season. And judging by the stuff that they did cut out and they're going to release in other formats, those would have made great episodes. But anyways, that's my favorite cancel series. This is again very British, but I very much like the new Doctor Who, which is still going. The current guy portraying the Doctor is very, very good. I really like.
Yeah, I missed the Christmas special of that actually.
You watched that?
I watch a lot of Doctor Who. I tried to watch the original series. I couldn't do it.
Why is it too
long? The stories are dragged out for too long.
They had a different format back then.
I tried very hard to like it, but I couldn't do it.
I think I watched all of the first episode, the originals, and the Dalek. The first time the Dalek made an appearance, I figured
watched
like
all of that.
Yeah, but I know what you mean. They were pretty long. But yeah, Peter Capaldi, absolutely love him. I want to see where they're gonna go with that.
He's pretty good.
And then anime again. This is gonna make me sound really weird, but or maybe not. Actually, this is a good show. I love Toradora.
Oh my god, my favorite romantic comedy of all time.
Yes, by far, Toradora. I was surprised by how much I liked it, and it's nice and short, nice and concise, very nice. In general, I'm surprised by how much I like this Kill la Kill.
Another very good one.
I'm very surprised by how well it's done. Like, because everyone's gonna think this is pure fan service, which a lot of it is. But I would say towards like episodes 3 or 4, you forget about that. That starts to become like you sort of acclimatize to all of that, and then you realize that actually underneath all of that, this is actually a really good show.
Yeah.
So, those are the 2 that I actually have some other ones, but I think for the time being, the 2 that I definitely enjoy the most, anime-wise, are those 2. Okay. Next question. Oh, shit. This is actually potentially a very long one. What kind of advice would you give to someone who wants to make a Skyrim mind series?
Okay. I'm going to go over this in order. Okay. Step 1. Give up now.
Yeah, I was about to say...
Give up on life.
I was about to say you should probably consider a different game. Especially if this is your first time making a mind series, definitely consider starting with something a bit simpler.
Yeah.
Like, I have seen at least 4 different attempts at making a Skyrim mind series. I was involved with one of those, actually. There was someone online actually asked me if I'm willing to help write one. And I said, okay, this was years ago. This was back when Skyrim was only like 3 or 4 months old. And the thing was, I told that person, I said, look, I'm not familiar enough with Skyrim yet, but like if you want to record the footage and then let me see it, and then I'll write lines for it. Because, like I said, this is how I like to write my series. I'll be willing to give it a go. Because the reason I accepted was because I like this idea that you're set in a fantasy world where you have to be creative. Again, you have to be creative with what you say. You can't get away with like real life references because that wouldn't make sense. They don't exist. So I like that challenge. Unfortunately, what happened was we didn't even actually hit any of the problems Skyrim specifically would have, but it basically got to a point where I was eager to write more, but she wasn't eager to make any more footage.
This is actually another
that
really...
just fell apart.
Actually, speaking of Skyrim, that's another question. Am I planning on doing a Matt's Mind Skyrim special? Right now, no, but keep an eye out.
Yeah, and Skyrim, oh my god. That's even less structure in terms of quest lines than Fallout 3. I can't even imagine how I would structure that. I guess that would be less of a problem for you because, like you said, like you like to just stumble around the world and find stuff.
Yeah,
which actually would work a lot better with Skyrim than the path that I like to take. But even then, oh god, I really advise against doing that, especially for a first attempt at a Mind series. Yeah, I mean the original question asked you to ask like what kind of mods you would recommend for it, but like I think the bigger problem isn't the mods. The bigger problem is just the whole concept. Oh my god, I don't even want to think about it, to be honest.
Just like I don't want to think about how they gave it Kinect support.
Thanks for reminding me. I spent a while trying to forget that was a thing.
You're welcome.
I mean, I think that was the end of that particular list of questions.
Okay.
Actually, there's another really short one. Might as well get these short ones out of the way. What are your thoughts on Star Wars Episode 7? We haven't seen it yet.
10 million people are already asking me to review the movie, so...
We haven't seen it yet.
I'm gonna have to see it. I am a Star Wars fan, so obviously I'm gonna see it, and obviously I'm gonna have to review it. I'm not particularly fond of the fact that Disney got their hands on it, because...
To be fair, would you rather Lucas kept hold of it? There's the ultimate question. Which is worse? At least J.J. Abrams is directing.
Well, that's another thing. I don't really like J.J. Abrams all that much.
Okay, fair.
Who? Okay, the new Star Trek movies. Who designs a spaceship where lights shine in your face from virtually every angle? Like, can we turn this off, please?
It's like a weird setting on the game, isn't it? That you can't turn off.
Like, can we turn
to be
off
fair,
the floodlights?
I'm surprised by the lack of lens flare from that trailer. I'm like, because everyone that I knew was saying, you won't be able to watch the lightsaber fights without wearing like goggles.
But what really struck a nerve with me with Star Wars Episode 7 actually was the fact that Disney came out and there were comic books that continued the story
disregarding the established.
There were comic books that continued the story of Star Wars. Like, they went past Episode 6, and like Emperor Palpatine cloned himself, and he had this enormous. I think it was called a Vindicator class Star Destroyer, and it was enormous and insane looking.
The Eclipse.
The Eclipse class Star Destroyer. And everything, and
it was basically a Death Star compacted into a Star Destroyer.
Yeah, it was this great story and everything, this great comic book series. Disney came out and flat out declared all books are now non-canon.
To be fair, I'm not surprised they did that, because can you imagine? You just spent how much? Did they spend 11 billion?
No idea.
They spent a ridiculous amount of money. Anyways. They spend a ridiculous amount of money acquiring this franchise. If you put yourself in their position for a minute, would you want, having spent all this money, would you be happy to shackle yourself in terms of creativity to what's already there? Or would you rather have the authority to basically write what you want to write?
I don't
You
know,
know,
man. I think you piss a
I
lot
know,
of
I
people
know
off that way.
it pissed me off as well to a bit, but I can understand why they did what they did, because otherwise there's not, because then episode 7 would just be a direct adaptation of the books, which I know a lot of people would love to have seen. I would have loved to see that.
I would have loved to have seen an
but
Eclipse-class Star Destroyer.
from a
Actually,
creative perspective,
we still might. They might recycle that idea.
well, that's the other thing.
I want to
There's
see a Vindicator class. I want to see an Eclipse class on the big screen, okay? If that doesn't happen, I'm not happy.
They've done something very crafty here, I think, which is that they've wiped the slate clean, but nothing's stopping them from cherry picking the stuff they want. They could rip. Well, I wouldn't say rip off exactly, because now they own the franchise, but they could effectively just take whatever ideas that was already there that they happen to like and make something new out of it, which may end up being like really sacrilegious if they pick stuff that on paper sounds interesting, but like in the old canon was completely conflicting. You know what I mean? Like maybe introducing that, I can never pronounce his name right. You know, that extra galactic alien invasion thing they had. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
No, I'm not.
Oh, they did that anyway in the extended universe. Like if they decide to make that into a movie, then that would be very divisive. But my official stance on episode 7 is that I'm going to echo what Mark Hamill said recently, which is don't over excite yourselves. Like he said something really, really profound, which is like when you overhype anything, chances are it's not going to turn out well. You just end up disappointing yourself. So I have faith that they would treat it with respect, but I'm not holding my breath.
Well, neither am I. So
yeah, like based on the footage I've seen in the trailer, it looks reasonably authentic as far as like how faithful it is to the original trilogy. It looks reasonable, although I'm not quite sure. A lot of people like said, "Oh, that lightsaber is a bit stupid."
Oh my god, I hate the new lightsaber. Do not get me started on the new lightsaber.
Let's steer away from that for a second. I'm also not sure about that lightsaber, although I'm surprised nobody's mentioned what those weird toy-looking guns the stormtroopers were carrying. Do you remember that? There was a big shot of the guns they were carrying, and they looked like they were bought from Toys R Us. They looked like they were bought from Toys R Us with some digital reading on like ammo counter on the side. I was like, this is like the video game generation of a blast. But anyways, yeah. So that's my official stance on it, which is I'm reserving myself. I'm not gonna get overexcited, because that's what people did with Phantom Menace. They got way too excited for their own good.
Yeah.
Anyways, I think you should probably do one from yours list now. Sorry about that. That was like a huge list of quick questions. Well, at least I thought was quick questions.
What kind of equipment do you use?
Oh.
Or, like software and microphone and everything.
Oh. Okay. Do you want to start?
Yeah, okay. Well, for video recording, I use Fraps, because that's the easiest way to do it. I know that Ross Scott and all the guys who do it in the Half-Life games have the in-game demo recordings, so they have that.
It's a feature of Source Engine, I believe.
I don't know all of the details, honestly. But I use Fraps. I actually purchased a legitimate copy because I respect them. Obviously my game provider is Steam. Video editing, I use Sony Vegas Pro 12. And that's actually a pirated version because, okay, let me be clear, I do not support piracy, but then again, I also do not support companies charging $600 to use their software. Like, for something that I'm going to use, like, maybe once a week, no, I'm not paying $600 for that. But, in terms of, mic, I actually have gone through a number of programs. The first one was called Penoperator. And that was a trial version I started out with. So every time it started up, it said, this vocal recording is done by Pen Operator. You can get it at www.penoperator.com line number 8. And then it will actually say the line. I eventually got a legitimate version of that. I bought it. And so I didn't have to put up with all that crap.
That sounds torturous.
And that served its purpose up until episode 9, I think,